My fiancé announced. I'm inviting 50 people from MY side. You get 10 because your family is small. My family was small because most died in a house fire. I said quietly, that's not how this works. Then I canceled the wedding and eloped with someone who actually knew my story. When she saw the elopement photos, original post, 31 male, need to get this out because I've been carrying it for about 6 weeks now and the weight is starting to bend me. When I was 11 years old, a house fire killed my mother, my father, my older sister, and my grandmother who lived with us. Faulty wiring in a house built in the 1940s. I survived because I was sleeping over at a friend's house that night. I came home the next morning in a minivan driven by my friend's mom, and there were fire trucks and a collapsed roof where my bedroom used to be. I was raised after that by my uncle, my dad's younger brother, and his wife. They didn't have kids of their own. They took me in within a week. They're the only family I have left. My uncle, my aunt, and 2 cousins on my mother's side who live across the country, and I see maybe once every couple of years. That's it. That's my whole family tree. 5 people, including me. I don't talk about the fire much. It's not a secret. It's just heavy. If you've ever tried to casually explain to someone that you lost 4 family members in one night, you know that the room changes. People don't know what to say. They overcorrect with pity, or they get uncomfortable and change the subject. So I keep it close. The people who need to know, know. Everyone else gets, I was raised by my uncle, and we move on. My fiancé, 29F, I guess I should say ex-fiancé now, and I were together for 3 years. I told her about the fire early on. 3rd date. I keep it close, but I don't hide it, especially from someone I'm getting serious with. She cried when I told her, held my hand across the table, said, I can't imagine what that was like. I appreciated it. But here's what I've come to understand over the past 6 weeks. There's a difference between hearing someone's trauma and actually absorbing it. She heard the story. She filed it away. And then she functionally forgot it existed because it was inconvenient to remember. We got engaged 10 months ago. Nice proposal. I planned it, saved up for the ring for $1,800 princess cut. She loved it, did it at a restaurant where we had our first date. She said yes. I was happy, genuinely. I thought this was the next chapter. Wedding planning started immediately. She's a planner by nature, color-coded spreadsheets, Pinterest boards, the whole production. I was fine letting her take the lead on the aesthetic stuff. I don't have strong opinions about centerpieces. But when it came to the guest list, I assumed we'd have an actual conversation. We didn't have a conversation. We had an announcement. About 8 weeks ago, we were sitting at her parents' kitchen table, her mom, her dad, her, and me, going over the preliminary guest list. Her mom had a printed spreadsheet, color-coded, naturally. Her family side was organized by tier. Immediate family, extended family, family friends, her parents' friends, coworkers, and something labeled VIP, which turned out to be her mom's book club. The total from her side, 53 guests. My fiancé looked at me and said, casually, like she was asking me to pass the salt, so how many from your side? Like 10. I said, excuse me? Her, well, your family is small, so I figured 10 would be more than enough. That way we can keep the venue costs balanced. I looked at her, then at her mom, who was nodding, then at her dad, who was looking at the spreadsheet like it contained classified information. Me, you want to limit my guest list to 10 people because my family is small. Her, it's not limiting. It's being realistic. I have a big family. You don't. That's just how it is. Her mom, it also makes the seating chart much easier. 50 and 10 is a nice clean ratio. A nice, clean ratio. I put my hands flat on the table. I do that when I'm trying to keep control of myself. Palms down, fingers spread, grounding. My therapist taught me that when I was 14. Me, you know why my family is small. The table went quiet. My fiancé, of course I do. But that doesn't change the logistics. We can't have a 50-50 split when your side physically doesn't have 50 people. Me, I'm not asking for 50. I'm asking for more than 10. I have friends, coworkers, my uncle and aunt, my cousins. People who've been in my life for years. But more importantly, you're reducing my side of our wedding to 10 seats because of something that happened to me when I was 11 years old. Do you hear yourself? Her mom interjected. Nobody's being insensitive. We're just being practical. Her dad finally looked up from the spreadsheet and said, maybe we should table this for now. First useful thing he contributed. My fiancée rolled her eyes, and said, fine, we'll talk about it later. But the venue holds 75 max, so the math is what it is. I drove home alone that night. She stayed at her parents' house. I sat in my apartment in the dark for about an hour. Not because I'm dramatic, because I couldn't turn on the lights. I couldn't move. I kept replaying the phrase, your family is small, in my head like a skipping record. My family is small because they burn alive in their beds. My family is small because I happened to be at a sleepover and they didn't happen to be anywhere else. My family is small because of the worst thing that ever happened to me, and my fiancé used it as a line item in a seating chart. I called my uncle that night. He's not a man of many words. But when I told him what happened, he was quiet for a long time and then said, son, a person who turns your loss into a logistics problem is not a person you build a life with. My uncle has never once told me what to do. Not when I was a kid, not when I was a teenager, not as an adult. He suggests, he waits. For him to say that directly, clearly, with no hedging. I knew he meant it from somewhere deep. I said, I know. He said, then you know what to do. I didn't cancel the wedding that night, but I stopped pretending it was going to happen. Now, before I get to what actually happened, I need to introduce someone. My co-worker. She works in the same department as me, has for about 4 years. We're friends. Good friends. She's one of maybe 6 people outside my family who knows the full story about the fire. She knew because we worked late on a project about 2 years ago, and I had a rough anniversary. The date of the fire, and she noticed I was off and asked if I was okay, and I told her the truth. She didn't cry. She didn't say, I can't imagine. She said, thank you for trusting me with that. And then she asked if I wanted to keep working or if I wanted to go get terrible diner food and not talk about it. We got diner food. She ordered pancakes at 9 p.m. We didn't talk about the fire again for months, but she remembered the date. Every year since, she sends me a text the morning of, thinking about you today. That's it. No pity, no performance, just acknowledgement. I need you to understand who she is because she becomes important. More coming. Update 1, 6 days later. Thanks for all the responses. I read every single one. Some of you asked questions I'll try to answer as I go. After the guest list conversation, my fiancée acted like nothing happened. That's her pattern, big. Conflict, silence for a day, then a full reset where she behaves normally, and if you bring up the issue again, you're the one who can't let things go. I've noticed it across 3 years, but I never had a word for it until my coworker lent me a book on conflict styles. Turns out there's a name for someone who treats unresolved issues as resolved just because time has passed. It's called stonewalling by avoidance. Neat. A week after the kitchen table incident, I try to bring up the guest list again. Calmly. At home. Just the 2 of us. Me. I want to revisit the guest list conversation. I like at least 25 spots on my side. I have people I want there. Her. 25? That's nearly half the venue. Where am I supposed to cut from? My grandmother's been planning this since we got engaged. My aunt flew in from out of state for the engagement party. I can't tell them they're uninvited. Me. I'm not asking you to uninvite anyone. I'm asking you to find a bigger venue or adjust the total count. Her. A bigger venue costs more. Who's paying for that? Quick context on finances. We've been splitting the wedding fund. I put in about $9,000 from my savings. Her parents had contributed $12,000. She put in about $4,000. Total budget was $25,000. Not extravagant, but decent. Me. I'll cover the difference for a larger venue if that's what it takes. Her. That's not the point. The point is the plan is already set. The invitations are being designed. My mom has the seating chart half done. You can't just blow it up because you want to add 15 more people. Me. 15 more people who matter to me in my own wedding. Yeah, I can. Her. You're making this about you. I stared at her for a long time after that. It's my wedding too is such an obvious sentence that having to say it out loud felt like a failure of the entire relationship. Me. Half of this wedding is literally about me. That's what a wedding is. Her. You know what I mean. You're making it emotional. Making it emotional. The fire that killed my family, emotional. The fact that my guest list is small because of a tragedy, emotional. The clear implication: my trauma was a mood problem, not a reality that deserved accommodation. I said, "This conversation is over. I'm going to bed." She said, "Great. Run away from it." Very mature. I went to bed, didn't sleep, stared at the ceiling until about 3 a.m., and then got up and sat on the couch and pulled up the deposits we'd already made. Venue: $3,500 deposit, non-refundable. Caterer: $1,200 deposit, partially refundable if canceled more than 60 days out. Florist: $600 deposit, non-refundable. Photographer: $800 deposit, refundable minus a $200 cancellation fee. Total sunk cost if I canceled everything: roughly $4,900 to $5,300, depending on timing. I did the math. Then I did different math, the kind where you calculate how much it costs to marry someone who treats your dead family like a seeding problem. That math was worse. The next day at work, my coworker noticed something was off. She always does. She didn't push. She just set a coffee on my desk, black, 2 sugars the way I take it, and said, "I'm here if you need me." At lunch, I told her everything. The guest list, the 10-seat limit, the "your family is small" comment, the mother's nice clean ratio, all of it. She put her fork down mid-bite and said, "She said that to you?" Knowing what she knows. Yeah. And her mother backed her up? Her mother brought a spreadsheet. She was quiet for a minute. Then she said, "You deserve someone who sets an empty chair at your wedding for the people who should have been there, not someone who erases them from the head count." That sentence broke something open in me. Not in a bad way. In the way that a correctly placed sentence can suddenly illuminate everything you've been trying not to see. An empty chair. That's what someone who actually understood my loss would think of. Not a ratio. A chair. I went home that night and told my fiancée I was canceling the wedding. It did not go well. Her: "You're what?" Me: "I'm canceling it. I'll take the financial hit on the deposits I paid for. You and your parents can recover what you can from the vendors." Her: "You can't just cancel a wedding because you didn't get enough seats." Me: "I'm not canceling it because of seats. I'm canceling it because you turned the worst thing that ever happened to me into an inconvenience for your seating chart, and you didn't even flinch." Her: "I flinched. I was trying to be practical." Me: "You were practical about my dead family. That's the problem." She started crying. Hard. And I felt it. I'm not heartless. 3 years of caring about someone doesn't evaporate in one conversation. But I also felt something else underneath the guilt: relief. And relief told me everything I needed to know. Her: "You're going to regret this. You're going to wake up tomorrow and realize you blew up your entire future over a guest list." Me: "Maybe. But right now I'm going to call the venue." I called the venue the next morning. Canceled. Ate the $3,500 deposit. Called the caterer, got $700 back. Called the florist, gone. Called the photographer, got $600 back. Total loss on my end, about $4,200. Her parents, from what I heard later, were furious. Not at her, at me. Her mom apparently called me emotionally unstable, and her dad said I was not ready for the responsibility of marriage. Her mom told mutual friends that I threw a tantrum over the guest list because he wanted attention. She framed the entire thing as a man who couldn't handle not getting his way, conveniently editing out the part where my family is dead, and they treated it like a math problem. I didn't correct the narrative to mutual friends. I didn't post anything online. I just let it sit, because the people who actually know me, who know why my family is small, didn't need an explanation. And the people who believed her version without asking me weren't people whose opinions I was going to chase. The ring. She kept it. I didn't ask for it back. For $1,800 in a drawer somewhere. I could have fought for it legally, conditional gift, broken engagement, etc. But honestly, the idea of negotiating over a ring with someone who put a number on my grief was exhausting. Let her have it. It's the most expensive lesson I've ever paid for, and I'm keeping the receipt in my memory. Now, the elopement. I know y'all are waiting for this part. Update 2. 10 days later. Final update. I'll keep this as organized as I can because a lot happened in a short window, and I want to be fair to the timeline. After the cancellation, I moved fast. Not out of spite, out of clarity. When you've been in fog for months and it suddenly lifts, you don't stand around admiring the view. You move before it rolls back in. The first week post-cancellation, I decompressed. Spent time with my uncle and aunt. My uncle grilled steaks. My aunt made the lemon cake she's made for every important occasion since I was 12. We sat on their back porch and didn't talk about the wedding. We talked about my dad, my uncle's brother. Stories I've heard 100 times but never get tired of. How my dad once tried to fix the kitchen sink and flooded the entire first floor. How he proposed to my mom at a gas station because the ring fell out of his pocket early. How my grandmother called every grandchild baby regardless of age because she said, "You're always my baby even when you're 40. My aunt said something that night that stuck. She said, "Your parents' wedding had 31 people. Your grandmother made the cake herself. It rained. They danced in the garage, and it was the happiest day of their lives. 31 people. A homemade cake. A garage." I thought about the spreadsheets and the tiers and the VIP book club and the color-coded seating charts, and I thought my parents would have hated every second of that production. The following week, I had a conversation with my coworker. We've been spending more time together since the breakup. Not secretly, not guiltily, just two people who were already close becoming closer in the absence of the thing that had been keeping a formal distance between us. We'd always had a boundary because I was in a relationship. That boundary was gone now, and what was behind it turned out to be something real. I'm not going to pretend this was a slow-burn romantic comedy. It wasn't. It was two people sitting in a car in a parking lot after work, and me saying, "I think I've had feelings for you for a long time, and I didn't let myself see it because I was committed to someone else." She said, "I know. I've known for a while. I was never going to say anything while you were with her." Me, and now, her. Now I'm saying I feel the same way. And I'm terrified. Me too. We sat there for a while. She reached over and held my hand. It felt different from anything I'd experienced in 3 years. It felt like someone was holding all of me, the good parts and the fire and the grief and the empty chairs. All of it. No spreadsheet. No ratio. 3 weeks after the wedding cancellation, I proposed to her. I know that sounds fast. I know some of you are going to tell me it's a rebound. But here's what I'll say to that. I've known this woman for 4 years. She's seen me at my lowest. She remembered the date of the fire before I ever asked her to. She's never once treated my loss as a logistics problem. And when I told her I wanted to marry her, she said, "Only if we keep it small. Just the people who matter." I proposed with a $200 ring from a vintage shop downtown. She cried when she saw it, not because of the ring, but because I'd found one with a small garnet stone, which is her birthstone. She said yes. We eloped 9 days later. Courthouse ceremony. My uncle and aunt were our witnesses. Her parents were there, lovely people who brought flowers from their garden. My 2 cousins flew in on 24 hours' notice and stood in the back row of the courtroom grinning like idiots. Total attendance, 8 people. My aunt made a lemon cake. We ate in my uncle's backyard. It rained for about 10 minutes in the afternoon, and we stood under the porch overhang, and my uncle said, "Just like your parents' wedding," and I had to step inside for a minute because I couldn't hold it together. My wife, and it still feels surreal to type that, followed me inside. She didn't say anything. She just stood next to me in the kitchen while I pressed my palms against the counter and breathed. When I was ready, she took my hand and we went back outside. My cousin had put on music from his phone. My aunt was teaching my wife's mom some line dance she'd seen on YouTube. My uncle was standing by the grill, even though there was nothing on it, because that's just where he stands. It was the best day of my life. We took photos. Not professional. My cousin's wife has a decent camera, and she shot everything. The photos are beautiful in the way that imperfect things are beautiful. There's one of me and my wife under the porch, rain in the background, and I'm looking at her like she's the only solid thing in the world. Because she was. We posted a few on social media. Not a big announcement. Just a handful of photos with a simple caption. She posted one on hers. I posted one on mine. Within 3 hours, my ex-fiancée had seen them. I know because my phone started going off. Her, "Are you kidding me?" Her, "You canceled our wedding and married someone else 3 weeks later?" Her, "Was this happening behind my back the whole time?" Were you cheating on me? Her answering me. I didn't answer. Not because I was being strategic, because I had nothing to say to her that would make either of us feel better. The truth, that I wasn't cheating, that the relationship with my wife started after the breakup, that the speed of the elopement was a product of years of friendship, not weeks of scheming, none of that would satisfy her. She wasn't looking for an explanation. She was looking for a fight. Her mom texted me too. One message: "You are a deeply cruel person. My daughter deserved better than this." Her dad: nothing. Her dad never said anything about anything, so that tracked. Then something happened that I genuinely didn't expect. Her younger cousin, a girl I'd met maybe twice at family dinners, sent me a DM. She said, "Hey, I just want you to know that not everyone in this family agrees with how my cousin and her mom treated you." I overheard the guest list conversation at Thanksgiving when my aunt was bragging about how she streamlined the seating chart. She told the whole table that your side was basically just a few people. And when someone asked why, she said his family had some tragedy years ago and waved her hand like she was brushing off a crumb. I thought it was gross. Congratulations on your marriage. I read that message 3 times. Brushing off a crumb. That's how my family's death was described at a Thanksgiving table. A crumb. I thanked the cousin. Didn't say anything else. What's there to say? Now the aftermath. And this is where I'm going to be honest about what the consequences actually looked like, because real life isn't a movie and the bad guys don't always get a dramatic comeuppance. My ex-fiancée lost the wedding she'd been planning for 10 months. That's real. The deposits her parents put down, venue, florist, DJ, some of those were non-refundable. From what I heard through the grapevine, her parents were out about $5,000 to $6,000 total. Her mom was livid, but not at her daughter, at me. In her mind, I was the one who walked away, so I was the one who wasted the money. The fact that her daughter's behavior caused the walkaway didn't factor into the equation. It never does with people like that. Her social circle. This is the part that wasn't dramatic, but was meaningful. Over the following weeks, several mutual friends quietly reached out to me. Not to pile on, not to gossip. Just to say some version of, "I heard what happened, and I'm sorry," or "Congratulations on the elopement." The ones who knew about the fire understood immediately. The ones who didn't, I told, briefly, factually. My family died in a house fire when I was 11. She limited my wedding guest list to 10 people because of it. I left. Every single person who heard the full story had the same reaction: silence. Then she did what? The narrative my ex and her mom had been spinning, that I was impulsive, that I threw a tantrum, that I was probably cheating, didn't hold up once people heard the context. Not because I campaigned against her, because the truth is heavy enough to stand on its own. You don't need to yell it. You just need to say it once and let it work. My ex's closest friends, from what I've been told, are split. Some stuck by her. Some quietly distanced themselves. One of them, someone I'd always liked, told a mutual friend, "I love her, but she messed this up badly, and she won't admit it." That's about as close to a consequence as entitled people get in real life. Not a dramatic reckoning. Just a slow erosion of the people willing to pretend they didn't see it. And then there's the ring. The $4,800 ring she kept. About a week after the elopement photos went up, she posted a photo on her Instagram story. It was her hand, ring still on, with the caption "still standing." Like keeping the ring was a power move. Like wearing the evidence of failed engagement was a flex rather than the saddest thing I'd seen that week. Someone screenshot it and sent it to me. I looked at it for about 2 seconds and put my phone down. She can have the ring. She can wear it until it turns her finger green. It doesn't belong to my life anymore, and neither does she. Here's where I am now. I'm married to someone who kept a date in her phone for 2 years just so she could text me 6 words on the worst day of my year. I live in a small apartment with a woman who proposed we set 2 empty chairs at our courthouse ceremony. One for my parents and one for my sister and grandmother. And I had to explain to the clerk why there were extra chairs, and my wife said they're for family who couldn't be here and didn't elaborate because she didn't need to. I still go to my uncle's house on Sundays. My wife comes now. She and my aunt are already conspiring about something involving a garden and a raised bed planter that I suspect is going to take over the entire backyard. My uncle calls her kiddo, which is the highest compliment he gives. My cousins already treat her like she's been around forever. I lost $4,200 in deposits. I lost $4,800 in a ring. I lost 3 years with the wrong person. I lost the illusion that someone who hears your worst story automatically understands your worst pain. But I gained something that money doesn't touch. I gained someone who doesn't need a spreadsheet to know how much space my family deserves at the table. Who understands that small doesn't mean less. Who knows that the empty chairs matter as much as the occupied ones. My family is small. It's always going to be small. But it's not a logistics problem. It's not a ratio. It's not a crumb to be brushed away at Thanksgiving. It's mine, and the right person knows that. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Hug your people tonight. And if there's an empty chair at your table, don't let anyone tell you it doesn't count.